One allure of open-world video games is the ability to cause nearly endless destruction and chaos across a large map. Of course, this is not always the case with every title in the genre, but most open-world games allow players to destroy everything in sight. Many open-world games go further, letting players run through the world with superpowers. Some of these games where you have superpowers are based on comic book properties, while others are original superhero stories created from the ground up by the developers. Most recently, Insomniac has released a sequel to one of their best games with Marvel's Spider-Man 2, where players can become Marvel's biggest hero in an amazing open world, proving there's still much more growth for the genre. Players step into the powerful body of an intergalactic being attempting to protect the Earth from an invading alien armada in Pento-Dimensional Games' 2017 hidden gem Megaton Rainfall. The unique spin on superheroes and the open-world game makes Megaton Rainfall an unforgettable experience. Megaton Rainfall's unique open un-universe design lets fans freely explore Earth as they fly around the mostly destructible cityscapes of the planet to battle alien invaders. From time-stopping to gravity manipulation, the world is the player's oyster. However, the fun doesn't stop there. Gamers can also leave the planet and fly through the galaxy in first person. Of all the many Dragon Ball games in existence, few have truly provided the feeling of playing through the full story. Very few have made Dragon Ball's world feel alive. The Legacy of Goku series did, but that's limited to the technical prowess of the Game Boy Advance. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, however, fully realizes that dream. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot chronicles the entirety of Dragon Ball Z in an open-world format full of side quests, iconic places to visit, and even new lore. Flying around Dragon Ball's world is a dream come true and one of the best representations of the Dragon Ball franchise yet. Ever wonder what Middle-earth was like before the Fellowship of the Ring? Shadow of Mordor introduces a non-canonical character named Talion to answer this question in a fun, superpower-fused Nazgul warrior simulator, and no orc is safe from your grasp. Talion, also called the Grave Walker, has the free-flow combat-style fighting ability of the Batman Arkham games, the stealth of Assassin's Creed games, and the powers of the Lord of the Rings antagonists. From teleportation to controlling the minds of orcs and even summoning wild beasts to ride, Shadow of Mordor is an incredible imagining of one of the soon-to-be Nazgul, trapped between life and death and resisting Sauron's hold, and trying to do good with his new abilities for as long as he can. In 2014, Sucker Punch revised the formula for Infamous with Infamous Second Son, a title that left Cole McGrath behind for a new protagonist, Delsin Rowe. After the government's oppressive Department of Unified Protections attacked Delsin's reservation, he and his brother Reggie made their way to Seattle to save people from a horrible fate. As Delsin Rowe, players had the power of smoke and fire, and they could steal the abilities from other conduits. Swapping between powers like Neon and Video granted players super speed and flight respectively, altering the gameplay enough to make every combat encounter with the DUP an experiment in perfecting power usage. Final Fantasy XV is an incredibly fun single-player and open-world game where protagonist Prince Noctis uses his abilities such as teleportation and magically materializing weapons to assist him and his friends along their cross-country quest. And in typical Final Fantasy fashion, the story itself is self-contained with its unique characters and storyline. Final Fantasy XV's combat style delves into real-time action elements, with the party completing each other's unique powers. The game has some more light-hearted features that are also equally memorable, like riding chocobos and exploring stunning new locales. Final Fantasy XV expertly juxtaposes the fun experience of traveling with friends with the responsibility of preventing the world's impending doom. Saints Row lets players wreak plenty of destruction and started as a foil to the popular Grand Theft Auto series. It soon found its own identity after Saints Row III. By 100% completing the game, players eventually unlock infinite ammo for all of their weapons and become virtually invincible among numerous other powers. Saints Row 4 takes things even further by giving players incredible abilities. These include leaping across the entire map in the blink of an eye, being able to play as a gang member with superpowers, elevated the Saints Row franchise above other open-world games like GTA. In a world where Batman lost his life in a battle with Ra's al Ghul, it's up to the members of the Bat family to discover the truth behind Bruce's last case. Players took control of Nightwing, Tim Drake's Robin, Batgirl, and Red Hood as they tried to get Gotham City under control. Along the way, the heroes are tested by some of Batman's most dangerous villains and must find the one hero who will ascend to become the true protector of Gotham City. After a successful trilogy in the Arkham series, Gotham Knights took Batman in a new direction. Players were let loose in an open-world Gotham City, but this time with RPG elements, as they built specialized suits to deal with unique threats. Though the Bat family rarely has superpowers, some of the abilities available in Gotham Knights certainly feel that way, as their armors can create elemental effects. The anime-style open world of Genshin Impact is even bigger than its release, with new areas to explore in Teyvat and characters constantly being added to the F2P game. The fantasy role-playing game has an action-based combat system where the various playable characters use various elemental and magical powers for combat. Genshin Impact tops the list of most expensive games to develop, and it's clear through its incredible soundtrack, ever-expanding open world, and still growing list of playable characters. Although it's free to play, it uses a gacha monetization system for certain outfits and several other experiences. However, there's still plenty of engaging open world content to play with without paying. Insomniac Games is mostly known for making PlayStation exclusives. Before Sony bought them, they developed one of the most vibrant titles of the 2010s. The Microsoft exclusive Sunset Overdrive was one of the most distinctive action-adventure games of the last decade. Among Sunset Overdrive's major innovations was the smooth method of traversing through the environment by riding rails, an experience that helped them make 2018's Marvel's Spider-Man. Sunset Overdrive didn't sell well, but for those who did play, it received pretty good reviews for its fun, not too serious take on a fictional 2027 city. The company is still interested in continuing the series if the opportunity presents itself. Many LEGO games are based on comic book properties, and each lets players toy with superpowers. However, LEGO Marvel's Superheroes is among the best for something new it brings to the table. Like other LEGO games, players jump into popular characters' LEGO brick forms to explore their favorite worlds from pop culture. LEGO Marvel Superheroes features a huge roster of playable characters, each with their own powers and abilities. Players can explore Manhattan on the streets or in the skies as they work to thwart a plot from Doctor Doom and Loki that features the usual comedy of the LEGO games. The acclaimed Final Fantasy XIV, an MMORPG with a daily player count of more than 1 million, has an incredible comeback story behind its development. Traveling the vast regions for PvE and PvP, creating a co-op party, and harnessing various superpowered abilities while doing so, solidified its status as one of the most loved online games of all time. Although Final Fantasy XIV's incredibly long storyline has new players questing solo before getting to the best parts of the multiplayer experience, it's worth the grind for those who love investing a lot of time in a single game. It's had 5 major expansions thus far, and the amount of content to dig into is almost overwhelming. An amnesiac protagonist is nothing new for video games, but Prototype makes it work by giving the main character superpowers after a deadly government virus is released. That same virus further drives the game's mystery as the player discovers his new abilities and becomes an open-world superhero. Not only does the player have all the typical tools of a superpowered human's arsenal, super strength, agility, and durability, but the protagonist can also merge with people and absorb all their memories. And there are even more secrets within the fictionalized Manhattan. Prototype 2 switches things up by making the first game's protagonist the antagonist and further upgrading the powerful shape-shifting abilities. Fans of Marvel's Spider-Man on PS4 got another chance to swing across the rooftops of New York City again. Spider-Man Miles Morales is a spin-off that follows the adventures of young Miles Morales as he steps under his mentor's wing to become his own wall-crawling superhero. Players looking to visit familiar territory will be rewarded with new game mechanics, a whole new closet filled with spider costumes that help players take on some of Miles Morales' most iconic villains. One of the biggest differences in Spider-Man Miles Morales is the additional Venom Blast and invisibility powers that separate the young hero from Peter Parker's original wall-crawling superhero. Remedy Entertainment's Control stands among other games that don't necessarily fit the typical definition of open-world games. The game's narrative involves a massive secret government facility in New York that's dealing with a supernatural invasion. As the new director of a secretive government agency, players attempt to bring their headquarters under control while managing increasingly paranormal threats. From modifiable loadouts to reactive environments and more, players can experience completely different scenarios on different playthroughs. Control starts players off in a typical shooter, but they soon learn to control a wide selection of unpredictable new supernatural abilities. Insomniac Games' Marvel's Spider-Man gave the Arkham franchise some competition for superhero-themed games. From the web-slinging to the narrative and the main character's infamous sense of humor, every element of the PS4 exclusive perfectly captured everything fans loved about Spider-Man. The game is based on Earth 1048, and although the protagonist is inspired by the hero's depiction in popular media, the narrative in Marvel's Spider-Man is original. More impressive is how Marvel's Spider-Man remains compelling even when the player is running around as Peter Parker. The game features other game modes as well. Still, the vast selection of comics-accurate abilities and advanced web gadgets make Spider-Man one of the most successful superhero games. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt plunges the player into a fantasy medieval world filled with monsters as the protagonist Geralt, backed by supernatural powers and weight behind all of his decisions. Although this is the third game, it has its own self-contained story where newer players can jump right in. Developer CD Projekt Red made The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is a massive jump in scope from its predecessor, and it has two major DLC expansions, Blood and Wine and Heart and Stone. Geralt of Rivia's superhuman strength, speed, and other abilities are on full display in Wild Hunt, and professional monster slayer Ciri will take the reins for The Witcher 4. No longer in Empire City, Cole finds himself in New Marais, based on New Orleans, Louisiana. Cole travels there, searching for a means to defeat the Beast, a looming and nearly unstoppable force. Infamous 2 is loads of fun, with Cole's new powers, and traversing New Marais is even more thrilling than Empire City in the original. It's ever the wonder why the Infamous games have yet to be remastered, because more players need to play this fantastic franchise. Bruce Banner hasn't gotten a lot of love in the gaming medium or films. He hasn't starred in a solo film since the MCU's Incredible Hulk in 2008. However, Hulk had a well-received open-world superhero game in 2005 called Ultimate Destruction. It certainly shows its age revisiting it today, but it remains the best game Hulk fans have for now. The Hulk can effortlessly toss cars and buses around or move around the city by grabbing chunks of concrete. Additionally, the Hulk can run across the sides of buildings to cause massive destruction in the early superhero open world game. Volition followed up the hit Saints Row and Red Faction franchises with the fun and chaotic Agents of Mayhem on PC, PS4, and Xbox One in 2017. The game featured multiple trios of characters that each featured special abilities and weapons and could be interchanged to produce a unique team for each player. Blockbuster superhero movies and Saturday morning cartoons inspired Agents of Mayhem. It also featured storylines and characters established in other Volition games. Players controlled selected characters from their chosen team while building up points to use powerful superhero powers and attacks that differed between each type of character. 2017, Prey from Arcane Studios has established itself as one of the best games of the last decade. The events are set aboard a massive space station tasked with experimenting on a powerful alien race. They soon escape and threaten to bring down the space station, while players use stolen alien abilities to fight back and try to escape. Prey isn't initially open world, since players must systematically unlock the various sections of the ship while experimenting with neuromods to gain new psionic alien abilities. Once the full station is unlocked, however, players can explore and gain new powers and skills. Insomniac has set the standard for the Spider-Man universe with their first two games, and exceeded it with their third. In Marvel's Spider-Man 2, players can freely swap between Peter Parker and Miles Morales. Both have their own stories, side quests, and challenges they have to overcome. It makes the entire game feel like an evolution of the prior ones rather than just more of the same. The game's main villains are Kraven and Venom, two enemies who push Peter and Miles to their limits. Meanwhile, the city has been expanded to nearly double the size by adding 2 more boroughs. To go along with that, both heroes have developed a new way of traversing the city faster, the web wings, which let Peter and Miles glide through the air